decisions that impacts people's lives, their livelihoods, their careers. So we need to make sure that that's super reliable. It also needs to be easily consumable. Okay? If you build a report or a dashboard and somebody can't figure out what that's showing in 5 seconds, you didn't build a good report or a dashboard. So we want people to be able to look at it and understand what it's showing them. And it's got to tell a story. You know, numbers are great, but when you just look at numbers, it's not really giving you context. So you have to be able to present things in a way that people can understand kind of the journey and the life cycle of how that data was produced. So what are we talking about here? Analytics architecture is defined as the process of collecting, storing, refining, analyzing, and presenting data. And it's got a few key components. Number one, the data model. So where are we capturing that data? Data location. Is it just in the CRM? Is it in multiple systems? Is it in a spreadsheet? And then data prep. How clean is that data? Can we use it as is? Probably not. Right? We're probably going to have to do some data cleansing, build some combined data sets, do some deduping. So we're going to have to manipulate that data a bit. And then our presentation layer. How are we going to display this to our stakeholders? And again, in an easily understandable and consumable format. So where do we start? I honestly see way too many people and companies wait till the end. Their implementation is done or a new app is built and they're like, okay, where are my dashboards? Not realizing that some of the things that they want to see are not producible in the current state. So don't wait till the end. I always start from the expected results and work backwards. What do you expect to be able to see in a dashboard when this project is over? And work backwards from there, because that's going to identify gaps in your data model or other things that you may have to build along the way to help produce that. Not everything just appears out of the box. People get buy Salesforce, they're a brand new customer, implementation's over and they expect everything's just going to be there. Every company is different. They all report on things that are truly unique to their company. That's not going to come out of the box. There's a lot that does, but it's completely normal to have to build things to produce reporting results. What the end customer sees as a report is not really a report, and we're going to see a real-world example of that throughout this presentation. You want to make it personal, so don't just sit with one business unit or one hierarchy of the company. You want to slice and dice the people you're dealing with there, and you want a solution for their unique needs. You know, the service manager cares about case closure rate. The sales manager cares about win rate on their ops, right? So you want to make your solutions relatable to them. Make them feel like you're working for their needs and nobody else's, and they're going to become your champions. They're going to help identify roadblocks along the way, and they are absolutely going to drive adoption. They'll start with their team, and that's going to spread throughout the company. So make sure you have a cross-section of business units, roles, and understand an executive's needs are completely different than a line manager's needs, and we need to be able to understand that. All right, so current state. We pay out commissions to internal reps and external reps. Finance calculates everything manually in spreadsheets and sends out statements manually. Sounds fun, right? No real-time visibility for anyone until those statements are received. So we have a very manual process, very little real-time visibility, not a good solution, right? So there are ways we can make this easier. Some must-have requirements. We want to automate the creation of commissions. We want the ability to look at a deal with calculated and aggregated commissions. And we want to be able to report on margins after commissions. Once we know what we're making, but what are we truly making after we pay out everybody on this deal? Okay. So our options. As an architect, and when I use the word architect, that could be an admin, it can be a developer. It's whoever's in charge of your Salesforce instance. You need to act like an architect. And part of your job is to present all available options to the team, because there could be more than one viable option. So let's say option one is Tableau, or whatever they're calling CRM analytics this week, right? Great tool, lots of use cases, extra cost, more licensing. Maybe you have nobody internally that knows how to use it or could maintain it. So let's just say we're going to cross that off. Too complex for us. We're not going to go that route. Number two, App Exchange. Plenty of pre-built commission apps, right? For a company called Salesforce, ironically enough, they do 0 for commissions. But there's App Exchange partners that have already built that, right? Quickly scalable, right? They're already built. Again, more cost, and lower control. You're basically given a package. You can't really customize those to your unique needs. So let's just say we're going to cross that out, and an option we're going to go with is we're going to build it on platform. And so we're going to walk through basically the whole life cycle of architecting an analytics solution. When I use the word analytics, I'm talking about straight Lightning reports and dashboards, not Tableau, CRM analytics, or anything. This is reusable across any reporting platform, essentially. And we're going to get through a bunch of hurdles along the way that we're going to have to solution and overcome. Okay, so proof of concept, we're going to build a commission app. So we're going to architect it. Now, think about some of the requirements. We had to have commissions. We have to have aggregate commission data on the deals. So basically, commissions, putting some information on an opportunity. So if we start to think about our data model, anybody have any ideas of where we're going to start? We're going to start with a master detail, right? Because you can't have a commission without an opportunity. Makes sense, right? So we're going to have a master detail between those two, because the commission shouldn't exist without an op, but also we want to utilize roll-up fields to take that commission data and display it on the opportunity. So we're going to have a master detail there, and then we pay out commissions internally and externally. So we're going to have a lookup from that commission record to the opportunity contact role. That's our external distributor or rep. And then we're going to have a lookup to the opportunity team member. That's the internal folks that we're paying out. And those commissions are going to be automated. So let's take a look at our demo. Okay, so we can see here we're on our North Africa Dream and op. And I've got a tab here for commissions. And we can see here we have a bunch of roll-up fields. And then we have a couple of related lists for our commission records. So I'm going to add a couple of opportunity team members. And this is a little difficult with one hand, but we'll make do. So we're going to have a sales manager, which is me. And we'll have a sales rep, which is Cam. And we're going to hit save. And we can see here that we have our commission records created automatically, and we have our commission rate set. Same thing happens if I add an opportunity contact role. We'll add Jim Smith here, and we'll have to give him a role as well. And we can see here, now we have the external. Now, we're missing our commission amount, which is this column that's being cut off here, because we don't have any products there. There's no amount. We don't know what this deal is. So let's add a couple of products. Okay, now we can see here, we now have our calculations. So how do we do the calculations? There's a few ways to do it. It could be formulas on those records. It could be formulas inside of the automation. So in this case, I'm using flow, so we could calculate it there. But the way I've done it is with a custom metadata type. And that's intentional for a couple of reasons. So if we look at it, we have our commission rate, custom metadata type. And we can see here, if we manage our records, it's basically just looking, it has a combination of the opportunity type, is it new business, renewal, or upsell? And then that opportunity team member role, is it a channel partner, is it a sales manager, a sales rep? And based on that combination, it gives it a unique rate. And why I like using these better is because, versus using, say, formulas, is we always have historic record of what we paid for rates this year versus last year. So there's an active checkbox here. So when 24 comes, I can uncheck all of these, create the records for 24 that'll be active, and I don't have to update my automation at all because it's looking for those active ones. I also love custom metadata types because they're deployable. So you can build these in a sandbox and deploy them through all your environments versus using a custom object, which you then have to data load every single time. Plus, they're hidden in setup. It's another layer of security versus a custom object where somebody could mistakenly get a permission set or something like that to get to them. So there's a few reasons why I like them. Okay. And our flows, let's actually look at our commission object first. So you can see here we have the top two fields are lookups for the channel partner and reseller. And we intentionally did it to the account and the contact. And the reason is you're probably not going to cut the check to that contact, the rep there. You're going to send it to the company, but we're still going to want to know who's their best rep over there. Who do we want to spend more time with? Who's generating the most business? So we did that 2 ways. And then for our team opportunity team members, which is a sales team member, we're going directly to the user here because the opportunity team member object doesn't support lookups. So it's doing the same thing. We're just going straight through to the user. Okay. And then for our flows, we have two, one on each object, the opportunity contact role and the team member. They're pretty much identical. And all we're doing is we have entry criteria here that's specifically looking for two roles, in this case, sales manager and sales rep. That way, if somebody doesn't have a role, or in this case, where you are in the contact role, channel partner, reseller, we don't want to triggering and firing errors if they don't exist. We're getting that custom metadata type that's active, that matches the opportunity type and that team member role. And then we just have a decision. Did we actually find one, right? Because you see this all the time where it's not going to find that custom metadata type record. Maybe it hasn't been created yet, and it's going to throw an error. So we just have that decision. If you found it, great, keep going. If not, stop. And if we look at the rest of the flow here, we're getting the external record type. So we have internal and external. It's really only there because we have a lookup to a user and a contact, and we don't want to stare at an empty column for one or the others. That's really it. It does help in reporting bucketing as well, but that's the main reason. And then we're creating our commission record where we're doing the calculation of the amount based on that rate that we got, and we're just multiplying the amount times that commission rate. So super simple. Now, we know deals are going to change over time, right? You're going to add products, change quantity, change pricing. We need to be able to account for that. So this is where I ran into hurdle number one. So I'm going to just quickly add one more product. We can see there it just updated all of our commission records, which is great. So when I first built this, what I wanted to do is I wanted to have this commission amount be a formula. Just look at the amount, standard amount field on the opportunity, multiply it by that rate, and that way I didn't have to have any additional automation. It would always be up to date. Same thing with the status. Projected versus owed. I wanted to tie that to the stage. Is this an open stage? Then it's projected. If it's closed won, it's owed. So if I close this, we're going to see these all update. Now we can see that it updated to owed. Again, I wanted that to be a formula. Because we have roll-ups that use these fields of what's been sold, what's owed, what's the rates are split out between new business, that sort of stuff. Because of those roll-ups, we cannot use the type like filters in the roll-ups, so I was unable to do it. So I had them built as formulas and then realized I couldn't use the filters in the roll-up themselves. So it was a roadblock. So I had to rebuild the fields, delete the current ones, build the new ones as just straight regular fields and not formulas. And then I had to use additional automation to populate that. So there's a second flow that anytime the amount or stage changes, basically reruns and recalculates the commission rate. So that was hurdle number one. Hurdle number two came into play because of the master detail relationship that we chose. And where that came in is if I click commissions here, there is no out-of-the-box My Commissions list view or report filter because it's a master detail. The commission technically does not have an owner. So there is no option to say, show me my commissions. So the way that I did that, if I look at this list, is, and I'll just show you the filter real quick. running user equals true. And running user is a custom field, formula field that I just created on the commission record. And it just says user ID equals sales team member. If the person looking at that is in that field, show it to them. So it's a cool workaround for that. It allows you to basically use those filters in list views and reports. But that was a hurdle. Now, we're talking commissions, we're talking people's pay. What's an issue people are going to bring up right away? Privacy, right? You probably don't want me seeing what you make, right? I don't want you seeing what I make. If I find out that she's getting paid a higher commission than me, I'm not going to be happy, right? People are going to be very paranoid about this when you start to mock this up. So you want to make sure it's super secure. So the biggest hurdle I had was I had built a prototype of this, and I was demoing it and starting testing with a customer. And then we realized it was not going to work because of the master detail relationship. There is no sharing rule for the commission object. It's controlled by the opportunity. So if he and I are two sales reps, I'm a sales manager and he's a rep, and we get added through the opportunity team, we both get access to all commissions right then and there. So that's a complete roadblock. I realized that, and I was pacing in my office. I was swearing. I was losing my mind because I knew the only way to change that, if I couldn't find a solution for it, is we have to change the model from a master detail to a lookup, and then I have to use flows to do all those roll-up automations, which is doable, but that's a ton of work and extra automation we don't want to add if we don't have to. So I finally found a solution in a feature that I had never heard of before, and we'll take a look at our opportunity object, and it's called a restriction rule. Why am I not seeing it? Give me 1 second here. There we go. So a restriction rule is like the opposite of a sharing rule, right? So sharing rule says we're going to give you extra access based on criteria. Restriction rules do the opposite, it takes it away. So what I've done here is I've just said, similar to that formula field, if the sales team member is the user, current user, show them the record. If not, don't. So we're going to go back to our opportunity here, and we're just going to take a look at what we have. We have 3 commissions. We have myself as the manager, we have Cam as a rep, and we have our external. I'm just going to quickly log in as Cam so we can see this in action. So now we're back to our North Africa Dreaming opportunity, and I'm logged in as Cam, and I only see that one record. I don't see mine, he doesn't see mine, he doesn't see that external rep. So that allows us to use that model, which is great. Now, what else is missing from this page that we saw before? The external, so the related list, correct. What else? The roll-up fields, right? Why is that? Because they might not be good at it, but they're going to try and do the math to figure out who else is getting paid on these deals, right? Which we don't want to have, right? Because we don't want them figuring out that 10 layers of management are getting combined more than they are by selling the deal. So we want to take those away. So I've done that, there's a couple of ways. So let me log back out and go back to our op. So the first thing I've done is in our Lightning page, I've made that component basically dynamic. So based on the role of the person, that dictates if that box with all of the roll-ups displays or not, as well as the external rep related list. So those are filtered based on the person to say either display this if they're this role or don't. So we're using one Lightning page for everybody, which is very easy maintenance, but we're also able to control it to basically say when to display it and when not. So once this loads, click into the box, set component visibility, and we've just said if user role name not equal to Eastern sales, show it or not show it. So that's how we've hidden it. Same thing with the related list. We've used dynamic single related lists. We can see here it's filtered for visibility. Same thing on the role. Now, does what I just showed you fully accomplish what we're trying to do by hiding those roll-up fields? The answer is no, because they would still be able to find those in reports and list views. So as part of that, we need to take away the field level security for those users for those fields. So they can't go run a report, they can't create a list view. And the way I built that component, which is going to be soon replaced, or if not already, by dynamic pages, if you haven't started using them, is I did it through an action. So anytime you want to take a chunk of fields and display them in their own tab like that, we can use an action here and add it to the page as a component. And we can edit our layout. All of these are roll-ups, so they're all locked. But if you ever did this with real fields, just make sure you set this so that they can't edit them. Okay? All right. So now we want to be able to easily consume what we've built. So I've got a couple of tabs here. One is cache. And this tab holds an entire dashboard. And I love doing this, especially if I'm building apps for an executive. I'll build an executive app where every single tab is a separate dashboard. So they don't have to go to the dashboards tab, remember what folder it's in, send you an email to say, I can't find this dashboard that I haven't looked at in 30 days, right? Happens all the time. Make it easy for them to find. So I embed it in an app page. And then I added filters so I can easily toggle between time periods. I can see status of what is projected. You know, that salespeople are coin operated. If you show me what I can make if I close those extra 2 deals this week, that's motivating for them. So we want to put this right in the forefront of them, what they could be making if they close a few more things. So they can toggle it, slice and dice it from here. They can also see all of the deals in this down at the bottom in the table. So if I'm getting a commission check, I'm going to certainly audit that to make sure that they paid me every single deal that I did. This allows us to do that, which they didn't have before. Now, the other thing we wanted to see was margin. So I've done the same thing here with margin. And I've just embedded another. And we can see we have the internal right on top of the external. And then if we look at our rates, we have 95 here. We have 92.7 there, which makes sense because we're paying out more people on the external deals. So you're going to use this to decide, should we invest more in our internal team because it's more profitable, or is it actually better to use the external team because we're not paying salaries, health insurance, that they're basically commission only? Can we drop that and significantly increase profits? And if you've never done this, I'll just edit it. An app page is really just a blank canvas. So if we edit our page, we'll see here the entire page is one component, which is just the dashboard. So you can think of this as a blank canvas. You can add list views on top of dashboards. You can stack one dashboard on top of the other. They're super flexible. I love using them. I think they're very underused in the ecosystem. So you can drag basically anything you want into this and put this up on top. And it's really customizable, gives you the things you want to hit people. Think of it as like a home page for other tabs within your apps. All right. And then our last report is, we know the finance team was doing everything in spreadsheets, manually sending out statements, right? That's not really that fun. So for them, we now have a report where they can run for any distributor. And then if they want to enable editing, right from this, I can now edit my fields and I can say, okay, this one was paid and it was paid today. Set my date. And I could save that. And then they could either do one of two things. They could export it and then email it off, or they could subscribe to it and have it come to them automatically with that attachment. And then I could either shoot that, forward that off to the external. There's no workaround for them not having a license, so it can't go directly to them, but I could forward that subscription email to them. Or you could set up even an auto-forwarding rule, in Outlook or Gmail of if subject equals X, auto-forward to this person. So it's still saving them a ton of time. All right. So few things we had to build for a report, right? We built custom objects, formula fields, restriction rules, permission sets, right? Because some people are going to have read only, like your sales reps. We're not letting the sales reps create their own commission records, obviously. Right? We're going to have some people that have view all. That supersedes restriction rules, by the way. So anybody that has view all globally or on the object, that supersedes a restriction rule. And then we'll have modify all, most likely for the finance team, because they're going to have to mark those as paid, what method, what date, that sort of stuff. I thought about automating that through maybe a screen flow, but I think it's going to be too unique to each individual organization when they actually pay those out. Are they doing it weekly, monthly? The internal folks may get it in the next 2-week paycheck, that sort of thing. But there are ways you could use a screen flow so they could mass mark things as paid and that sort of stuff. So our hurdles, again, were no sharing rules for master detail. Solution was a restriction rule. No my report or list view filters for master detail. Solution was that formula field for the running user. Can't use formulas and roll-up filters for commission status, so our solution was to use a second on edit flow. And then roll-up should only be visible to certain users, and we did that with the permission sets to take away field level security on the roll-up fields, and then the dynamically filtered action table for those roll-ups, as well as the external related lists for the commissions. So proof of concept review. Does this meet the business requirements? We need to automate commissions. Check, we did that. We want to aggregate commissions up to the deal level with the margin. Check, we did that. When we wanted to give people real-time visibility into their commissions, which everybody now has. So let's just say we met the business requirements. What's the impact or risk level? We want to know that, right? And you want to have a good way to do that. I use an app that I love, I pay for, called Elements Cloud. And what it can do is kind of give you a snapshot of, if we want to change something, what's the lift going to be down the road? So if we just quickly look at our commission amount field, it's this little panel on the right, and I can click on this and I can see this is high impact. This is where it's used. And if I open the dependency tree, we can go downstream to see all the places that we would potentially have to make changes if we decide to tweak this field. So it's a really useful tool to find out, is this a small lift? Is it a medium lift? Is it a big lift? When we're looking at making changes for this. This is taking a minute to load. And there we go, come on. So we can see it's used in our lightning page, our opportunity page, our standard object, the op, so on and so forth. So now we get 9 flows. So is this a small thing to update? Probably not. So we want to have a way to put some sort of metric on that. Is it scalable? Honestly, this one maybe not, because with the restriction rule, you can only have 2 per object. You can only have 1. You're only supposed to have 1 per person. So if you have a really complex role hierarchy, that could be a true roadblock for this. If we had sales manager, sales rep, we could add customer success easily. We can add a few more, but if you had a really complex structure, that could be a real roadblock. You need to figure that out now, because 9 months from now, if you hit that limitation, again, now you're going from master detail to lookup, building all the flows to do the roll-up automations, kind of to do a massive data load. That is not going to be a fun project. You need to make that decision now. Can we foresee, for the foreseeable future, go down this path, or is this just dead on arrival right now? Make that choice. And then what level of maintenance support is needed? Do you need to hire an outside consultant every time you need to make changes for this? For something like this, any admin should be able to maintain this. They may not necessarily have the knowledge to go build it all on their own, but working with somebody more senior, an architect or a consultant that can build this, document it, and make sure they understand it, once this is live, any admin should be able to maintain it for the most part. All right, a couple of resources. Report Force, that's my blog. Myself and Evan Ponter, who's one of the other speakers here, we do that. Dashboard Dojo, that's an MVP from Boston named David Carnes. Great speaker. He just wrote a book on Salesforce reports and dashboards. It's free online. I think he does it twice a month, where he walks you through everything related to dashboards. And if you're more into CRM analytics, Salesforce blog is a great resource for you. So we are out of time. I will hang out in the back. If anybody wants to have any questions, feel free to come see me. And merci, shukran. Thank you.